everybody. Welcome back to the Routine Podcast.
Gymnastics Conversations.
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chelsea's mom, Diana.
And we're back for episode 59.
Hello, daughter.
Hi, Mom.
I think we do that a lot, don't we? I don't know what else to say.
We're in yet another new environment. We're just hopping around.
We're trying to find a place that will keep us.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a struggle out here.
I know. Nothing was better than the basement with the puppies.
Maybe next, for episode 60, we'll be back in our usual studio. Currently, Mom and I both work in the same city, but we don't live in the same city.
Right.
So we're trying to do the podcast on the move where we both work. So, yeah. Anyways,
Okay. Anyway,
welcome back to another episode.
we've got a great interview that we're going to do today as part of our summer series. One of our favorite people to talk to in the whole universe. Yeah. Coach Rick McCharles from Canada.
But before we get to Coach McCharles, there were so many comments on the last episode with Devorah Meyers.
She's a sports writer who focuses on lots of sports, but primarily we know her because she focuses on gymnastics. And, for those who have not had the chance to listen to that episode, we highly encourage you to listen to it. She has this provocative question that she asks, and that's whether we should do 5 up, 5 count versus 6 up, 5 count. And we got a lot of comments about that.
The first one was from @SlothNova, and she said, "Oh man, the Routine Podcast and Devorah Meyers interview cracked me up on the way to work. I love all of you. I also love how you all can acknowledge that the 5 up, 5 count debate is a complicated issue, and there can be both benefits and consequences. It soothes my conflicted soul."
Which way did people vote? I was thinking they voted that 6 up, 5 count was more of the votes we got versus 5 up. Did we get any 5 up, 5 count?
Yeah, definitely people leaned more towards 6 up, 5 counts for various reasons, which I think was interesting. The one person off the top of my head who voted 5 up, 5 count was the same person who had that opinion in the article, who is Greg Marsden.
Yeah, from Utah.
He tweeted us and said, "All meets should count. All routines should count. All scores should count. That is all."
Period.
Yeah. Peace sign.
And somebody like Greg Marsden can say it that way.
Yeah.
And that's all he needs to say.
Yeah.
Because coming from him, it really has a lot of credibility about why he thinks what he thinks.
Totally. And what I really enjoy about our listeners is that we're able to have an open discussion and nobody takes it too personally. We're all just stating our opinions and we respect it wholeheartedly.
Right. Again, I think when you look at the number of tweets that we got, most people were most comfortable with 6 up, 5 count. So another tweet that we got on that subject was from our favorite, Sam is a dancer. Hi, Sam.
We have a lot of favorites, apparently.
And Sam says, "I think it should not be 5 up, 5 count for the whole season. Testing out routines and giving other athletes the chance to compete at the beginning of the season is an important part of the strategy of building postseason lineups." And I think that's a really good point. She also added that if we had 5 up, 5 count for the whole season, I don't think that we would see as many walk-ons or underclassmen taking lineup spots after great routines. I don't mind the idea of 5 up, 5 count for the postseason for increasing intensity and speed of meets, but I don't think it should be for the whole season.
And I think that's where I was leaning as well. I think for postseason, 5 up, 5 count could be incredible in terms of entertainment as a fan.
Didn't Devorah say that the men do it that way?
Yeah, I think it was week 8 that men turn over to all of the scores counting. And I don't, it's just like such a hard question to answer because then it's like, well, why are you training this way for half the season only for it to change midway through the season? It's really just a hard question to answer.
Yeah, I agree. Did we get some tweets about safety?
AB Gym she actually replied to a tweet from Robert MTZ, and he said, "I don't like that this limits only 20 routines. If you are going to count all scores, keep it at 24. The athletes work too hard to take away 4 competitive routines," which is a good point. And then AB Gym replied to that saying, "My concern with this is there are always teams who can't put up 6 gymnasts. Think University of Washington, Denver, UGA. 6 up, 6 count could encourage putting an injured/sick athletes."
Yeah. And I fall there. I always take that mother view, and from a mother perspective, anything that we can do to keep people safe without that same pressure of scores, I'm for that. And we also got a tweet from Missy Flippy, who says, "I like that you're having an interesting talking point, controversial idea on the show. I'm a little on the fence about this one, but I think it would add an element of suspense, and it makes it a bit like other sports championships. 2 great teams, but who is better that day?"
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. It would make a great championship.
The thing is, I think if we did something like this, though, we have to look at scoring. Because for me, if we did 5 up, 5 count, and the scores are where the scores are right now, where everybody's a, 0.00025 difference between each other, it's going to be tough to determine who's winning, unless it's Oklahoma.
There's got to be more of a separation.
Yeah, I think that's where I fall. Out of all the things to change,
Scoring
would be at the top of my list before this.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. The scoring situation that we've experienced, at least this past season, is that it's really making the sport not as accountable. Mm-hmm. I know there's a better way to say that.
No, I think it's a good way to say it. And I would actually say I would like to watch a sport where I don't need a calculator to keep score.
That's true. I think Ms. Val would agree with you, too.
Dividing by 0.00256.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Scoring is definitely at the top of the list.
Yeah. I go there first.
And then the last comment we got was from our guest today, actually, Coach McCharles. He said, "Great interview. 1, I'd love to see Division I teams get more scholarships, but only if all teams do so."
And he's responding to LSU's request to the SEC where they're asking for more scholarships.
Yes.
From 12 to 14.
And 2, pros and cons on changing the number of counting scores. I'd be okay with any of the proposals. Teams would need a year or 2 advance warning, though.
Yeah.
It's true. You got to prepare it. Like, that's a complete shift in, like, the basics of the sport. So you got to prepare for it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think in our interview today, he's going to spend a little bit more time talking about 5 up, 5 count, too. So you'll hear that a little bit later in our show.
But thank you all for your comments. I think we had a great discussion. And thank you, Devorah, for coming on our show. We really enjoyed talking with you.
That was so much fun. And thanks for sharing Lizzie with us. Lizzie is Devorah's dog. And the whole time she's talking to us, she's giving her belly rubs. But no, that was fun. And we've got to have Devorah back on the show again. So Devorah, hopefully you're taking a listen. And when you've got a topic that you want to share with our audience, we'd love to have you back.
Mm-hmm. In our outline, the next segment of our show, I titled it Current Events in Gym.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a good segment to have.
Especially in the summer, since we're not weekly updating.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
So what's the happenings in college gym? Mm-hmm. First thing first, Regan Smith, who is currently a Texas Dreams gymnast on the national team, has changed her Instagram bio to OU 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oklahoma gets Regan Smith.
Yeah. And apparently it's this coming season that she's coming.
And Maggie Nichols is a senior this year?
So, like,
oh, man.
Good luck to all the competitors.
You know what that means? We got to go back to Oklahoma.
I know, right? Yeah. Like, seriously, we do.
3 trains and a bus.
Yeah.
3 trains and a bus and a Mustang.
Yeah. I'd be down as long as I get the Mustang. Yeah. Hopefully, like, all goes to plan. She hasn't released an official statement yet, but I mean, changing your Instagram bio is basically an official statement
that
in
is
2019.
The statement. Yep, that is the statement. Congratulations, Oklahoma. Congratulations, Reagan.
Yeah. In sad news, Another Texas Dreams gymnast who was at Alabama, Bailey Key, officially announced her retirement. She's medically retiring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long did she compete there?
She actually never was able to compete. She's going into her junior year this season. But you know how your body is. It just kind of stops at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely know that. We've experienced that with your career.
It's very sad, but speaking from experience,
yeah,
the world is very big. There's a lot more outside of the world of gymnastics, and I'm sure Bailey knows that as well. So good luck to her in her future.
Good luck, Bailey.
In other news, Suzanne Yocklin has officially retired again. So she's no more a volunteer assistant coach at the University of Georgia.
No, and you sent me the article to read about Suzanne and deciding to leave, and she's such a larger-than-life character. Even in the words that are on the screen that you're reading, you can see her saying it.
I was picturing that too.
Right? Where she's like, Courtney's ready,
This is what we agreed on.
Yeah, Courtney needed me for 2 years. I gave her my 2 years.
I got to be with my grandkids.
Yeah. So, and Courtney is ready.
She looks good for a grandma, right?
She looks good for anybody.
So I'll include the article on our website if you all want to check it out. And then lastly, Randy Lane is no longer with UCLA Gymnastics.
Yep. Still a little mysterious. I think we've read a couple of things, but I don't know exactly what he's going to be doing next in his career, but we wish him the best of luck.
And hopefully he continues with the Collegiate Growth Initiative to help grow gymnastics collegiately throughout the country.
Yep, exactly. That's one of his many things that he was working on, and we wish him the best of luck. So that's the world of gymnastics news.
Is it time for our special guest?
It is. So Coach Rick McCharles is, I think, the world's coach, the world's gymnastics coach, don't you think?
It's so true.
And, we love talking to him.
He has like a special place in our hearts.
He does.
Because way back when we first started,
he believed in us, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, that's two things. First, he was really the first person to put our podcast on the map. Mm-hmm. He posted our podcast on his website, which garners who knows how many views every day.
Yep.
And we just saw a humongous spike in our downloads after he posted us.
Yep. It was over a New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I was just like, Mom, something happened.
Yeah, and I actually thought we were going to be done after like 3 episodes. And here we are.
Yeah, it's all Coach McCharles' fault. And then 2, he was actually our first guest on the show.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think when we talk, I don't want to say this and hurt anybody's feelings.
Uh-oh. Be careful, Mom.
I'm going to be careful. But he's like the coach I always wish you had.
Oh. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one.
And that's, all shout out to your current coach or your former coaches too.
No shade, but shade.
But we had the chance to talk to him. First of all, we have to catch him because he travels literally around the world. Yeah. And he coaches around the world. And I think he was going to Bermuda, or where was he going when we talked last?
I know this time in the interview, I think he says he's going to Bermuda.
Yes, I think so. Right.
Somewhere nice.
Right. and it's always like, Bora Bora, or is he
Brazil.
So,
Cancun.
And so when we always send our requests to him to talk, it's not knowing where you are, Coach.
Do you have time for us?
But when you land somewhere, can you give us some time to talk?
And he's always right on top of it.
He really is. He really is. He didn't go to nationals, but he did go to regionals under this new format. So you'll hear some of that in today's interview.
And then whenever we reached out to him saying, do you want to be on our show? He suggested that we talk about his great country of Canada.
Yep.
Giving some of these international gymnasts some love, which we haven't done thus far on the podcast.
No, and we thought he was the perfect guest to help us do that. So we are joined by Coach Rick McCharles of gymnasticscoaching.com. Good morning, Coach McCharles.
Hello, Chelsea. Hello, Diana.
We've missed talking to you.
Yes, I'm so sorry I didn't see you in person this year. The last time we were together was at that great Peng Peng Lee UCLA Miracle.
Right? That's going to be like, what is it called? The Miracle on Ice, that thing that you'll remember forever and ever.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's funny because obviously we went to the Nationals this year as well. And it was a wonderful meet. But I think we keep comparing it to last year's meet, which of course you can't compare it.
Indeed, I thought it might be a letdown. So, as you probably remember, I was up in Vancouver, Canada, going, oh, should I buy a ticket to Fort Worth, Texas? Or should I hop on this bus and go down to regionals in Oregon instead? So I ended up doing that, loved it. And I have to say, maybe it's good for Texas to host so many times in a row. But for me as a fan, I don't need to go to Fort Worth, Texas every year.
Well, that's a haul from Canada.
It is a long way, too. So anyway, it was a quick bus ride for me down to Portland. So that worked out really well for me. And I was going to do one or the other, either regionals or championships this year.
Well, you picked a great regionals to go to.
Yeah, that was the exciting one, too. Yeah, it was neat. It was thrilling.
How was it being there in person?
I'll tell you, from minute one walking in there, the vibe was Denver's going through. This is not a fluke. They are the team. They are ready. They just looked confident. You just felt that vibe. I'd already been kind of nervous about Florida through the season because they're great, but sometimes they miss. And I don't know. I just didn't feel it for Florida the same way. You know, I thought they'll get through one way or another. They can fall and get through, I thought at the time. But yeah, no, Oregon State University was legit. It was not, I saw nonsense about their leap sunbeams being not deducted. No, you know, it's always beams. So once OSU got through that beam rotation, Oregon State University deserved to go. They did the job. And then when it was announced, it was like half the audience was surprised that it was really, really fun to be there.
So what did you think of the new regional format?
Oh, yeah, it's much better overall. It's much more exciting. I've always thought that what is undervalued in our sport is consistency and kind of toughness. Like, can you pull it off after one of your team members falls on beam, for example? You know, Florida was the best team. They do the best gymnastics. If I had to pick the best team, I'd say it was Florida. But that day, it was Denver. Denver was not to be denied. Yeah, it was fun to watch them all season. And then sometimes you worry about that great season collapsing when it gets to the finals. No way. No, they were going. And it was nice to see that rewarded, that they were so prepared, so ready to hit, so psyched. But I like the regional format better. The play-in was fun. It doesn't seem that logical. I think you've spoken about the very slight odds of competing 3 days in a row. I'm not sure that's going to survive for the next 20 years. I'd rather have more teams go or do something different than have that play-in. But it was great to be there, and the audience was small for the play-in. And those teams that just are barely qualifying are the center of attention there for the one day.
I got to ask, what are you thinking about Oklahoma? Are they beatable?
Oh, yes, I think everybody's beatable now. I wouldn't bet the mortgage next year, though, with Maggie Nichols. Mm-hmm. I mean, without Maggie Nichols, Oklahoma can beat anybody on any given day. But with Maggie Nichols, talk about consistency and mental toughness. And I didn't do floor for months. I'm going to hit floor, you know.
I know.
Right? Or beam. When we were at Oklahoma, she hadn't done beam all season. Was it beam or was it floor?
It was beam. She didn't train the entire week, and then she nearly got a 10.
As a coach, that kind of athlete that looks you in the eye and goes, yeah, put me on the beam. I'm going to hit. I mean, as a coach, you just go, but yeah, you hit 5 beam routines yesterday in a row. But when it counts, it's different. You know, it's really hard. But for Maggie Nichols, it's not different. And she just trusts herself.
So you think once Maggie graduates, you think it might kind of even out the odds a little bit more?
A little bit, but as you've said on your show before, Oklahoma, you could hand them a brand new group of level 10s, and they'd be in the top 3 next season from scratch. If you were a college coach and you wanted to study how to do this, you would go to Oklahoma and copy what they do because they obviously know how to work with different kinds of kids. They've not often had the most talent on their team, but they're always the team to beat. Yeah, I got nothing but respect and faith in that program. But there is, as we saw this year, there's a lot more parity. There's many more teams that are closer to the top teams, and some of them are going to put it all together like Denver did this year. And the more that happens, the better for the sport.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I feel like you bring up a good point about consistency. I'm curious of your thoughts of having 5 up, 5 count.
Yeah, it would be a game changer. And when the men started doing it, I said, I think it's a bad idea. It forces injured athletes to go up. It puts even 30% more pressure on your lineup. So I would rather not do it that way. And we'll see what happens.
So can we talk about Canada?
Canada. It's a long history of great Canadians in the NC2A.
You sent us a list, and I don't remember how many people were on that list, Coach.
Yeah, there are hundreds of Canadians that have competed. And as you saw on Twitter, I just put out, what are the great Canadian gymnasts that you recall? So Yvonne Tuzik, Elise Hoffner-Hibbs. Gosh, we got 2 girls at Washington who I follow. Stephanie McGregor, Rochelle Simpson, Sabrina Gale, who I've followed since she was, 6. Maddie Gardner was a superstar. Shalyn Olsen, Pinky did very well too. So we had two sisters went to Oregon State University. The beautiful and fantastic Jessica Dowling. We have 2 girls at Lindenwood that I follow very closely. Go Lindenwood. My girl, Alana Fisher. We better talk about Danelle Pedrick. But my favorite is probably Kate Richardson. Gosh, it's a long list.
A lot of people had a lot to say about who their favorite Canadian gymnast was, which was really cool to see.
My theory all along is that Canadians do disproportionately better than Americans when they get to the American college division. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of my gut feeling, is they tend to keep improving when they get to college, whereas a lot of the good level 10s in the USA stay about the same when they get to college.
And what do you attribute that to? It's got to be the training that they've been going through the years, whether it's, on one side or the other?
Well, I have 2 theories. One is, until very recently, the Canadian girls all trained elite, and then they went back to the JO10 rules. So they're all reducing difficulty when they got there. And for many, many of them, that worked well. Now, Canada, as you know, has adopted JO10 the last few years. So now it's very similar to the U.S. But I think my second theory is that the Canadian girls are not used to the raw team excitement that they get when they get to college, because we never have that in Canada. Whereas when you're at JO Nationals for Region 5, for example, that's similar to being on a college team. And some of those top level 10s in the U.S. have had that college experience more than the Canadian girls have.
And so you think having that kind of raw experience, as you called it, encourages them to do better? Or how does that raw experience help them on the collegiate side?
Yeah, I think that's it. There's so much more motivation than they were ever used to back home in Alberta, where I'm from, that I think some of them, it really helps their motivation rise. Now, they've also made the commitment to leave their country. It's like all or nothing. And we've had some Canadian girls come back after 1 year just too homesick.
And so do you think that, again, while they're training at, these, levels, 8s, 9s, and 10s, et cetera, that they're thinking about obviously going to college and continuing gymnastics there, but at that point, they're also thinking about this commitment that they're going to have to make to leave home and leave their country?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I remember when Stephanie McGregor left our gym to go to Oregon State University, which I love, by the way, because I love that coaching staff. She was terrified. We were terrified for her. Her parents were super nervous for her. I don't know how you were, Chelsea, but it was a big trauma for Stephanie McGregor to go away to university in the States. And while she was there the first 4 months, I said, Steph, when you come back at Christmas, I want you to do a presentation for the other girls about what it's like in college and what you thought. And anyway, she walked in the door 4 months later, all grown up, super mature. She had a PowerPoint presentation ready. She was totally changed in 4 months of university gymnastics.
That's so interesting. And it's totally true. As
a person who only went away to college like 5 hours away from home, it was still a huge transition for me in my life. So I can only imagine what it's like to leave your country.
If you had to give advice to those Canadians that are considering, going to one of our schools here in the States, what are some of the things that you think that they should know or think about?
Good question, because a lot of parents do consult with me, and not only from where clubs I'm coaching. I encourage every female gymnast who thinks she might like to go. And I think it's a great opportunity. As we've spoke last time I was on your show, I really think it's a wonderful life experience to be a college gymnast in the USA. Now, I should mention that I advise the boys not to go.
Wow.
Yeah, the male gymnasts, I've had parents with boys and girls, and I said, your daughter should consider it, your son shouldn't. Now, we have lots of Canadian men in college right now, and they're doing great, and they're in consideration for, our A team here in Canada. But the trouble is there's so few scholarships for the men that those boys are offered a 0.4 scholarship or a 0.6 scholarship. And that's too expensive for a Canadian who can go to university in their own town at very low cost and live at home. And, the men are still they're still at their peak when they're in their college age. My next bit of advice is to get a consultant, because the Canadians really don't know, how to apply for a college scholarship, how to get noticed, how to set up their video channel. So I really recommend they go to one of the consultants to help them when you're from another country.
I think that's all really good advice. And how about advice to the parents?
You will not be surprised to hear me say this, but I tell every parent the same thing. There's a very good chance if your daughter goes to college in the States, she will not return to Canada. Business opportunities, she might have a significant other that she meets at college, and at least half of our girls that go down there don't come back. So wow. I find that very sad because...
I do too. That hurts.
It really does hurt. And maybe it's less true now than it used to be, because women are now marrying closer to age 30 or 31. And all parents say, oh, no, she loves her family. She loves Canada. She'd never stay in the USA. They all tell me, I say, okay. If I was a college coach, part of the formula is, I need at least one Canadian on my team. They tends to be a factor in some of the most successful teams.
Do you ever think that something like NCAA gymnastics will be a thing in Canada in the future?
Well, I'm old enough to remember. I coached college club and college team in Canada. We had CIAU gymnastics, and it was big. It was not as big as in the USA, but it was a super important program for us. Now, we had rules that you needed so many universities to participate, and as soon as the men's number of teams missed that number, which I think for us was 10 or 11, then the program was dropped. The same thing that happened in the USA when the women's teams dropped. So we don't have Title IX. So that was no benefit for our college girls. The college women's program was cut also in the 1990s. And the biggest loss was now our top gymnasts can't compete for college in Canada, so they have to go to the USA if they want to continue their career that way. So I don't see it coming back in Canada, and that's a shame.
Well, and let's share some of the most successful Canadian gymnasts in college right now.
Well, I think right now we're at a bit of a lull in that we don't have so many top Canadians right at this very moment, and a lot of the top Canadians coming up have not announced to go to college in the States. So I think a lot of them are planning to stay home. Well, Shalyn Olsen, of course, world silver medalist on vault from last fall, she walked in the door and was a superstar.
She's beautiful to watch. Absolutely beautiful to watch.
She's unique. When I think Shalyn Olsen, I always think of Michaela Skinner. But those two are two of the best female gymnasts in the history of the world in the air.
I feel as though Oregon State often has not only Canadian gymnasts, but international gymnasts. Why do you think that is?
That is, they've had an awful lot of great Canadian gymnasts, including Maddie Gardner was a superstar for Oregon State University. I think the coaching staff, I remember they flew to Australia to recruit, and they have an Australian gymnast now. I think they're open-minded about foreign gymnasts in the way UCLA always has plenty of foreign gymnasts as well. So they are willing to help those international kids. But yeah, it was great to see Sabrina Gale anchoring for Oregon State University on beam and bars. So, I mean, she is gorgeous. And it took her some time to get to that level, but she's a legit anchor for a top 8 team in college today. So I was thrilled to watch her.
Well, before you leave us, Coach, we've got to talk about your travels. You know, we always got to know where you've been and where you're going.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the World Championships in Stuttgart, Germany, of course. So looking forward to that. You know, I'd love to go to the FISU, the World University Games in Naples, Italy, because I've been a number of times. I love that meet. Really, after the Olympics, it's the second best international competition in the world as far as I'm concerned. And some of my girls here are representing Canada. The beautiful and fantastic Jessica Dowling, who went to university in Canada, is on the team. Then my girl Alana Fisher from Southeast Missouri State University, who had a great season, and she's suddenly an international gymnast from Canada, where she was never tried out for elite when she lived in Canada. And then we better talk about Danelle Pedrick. If you talk about a Canadian successful currently in the NCAA, Danelle Pedrick was not a top level 10 in Canada. She was great. But before she showed up in college, she was inconsistent. She went to school, and now she's a superstar.
It's crazy how that happens.
She's a superstar on beam. Like Danelle Pedrick, I don't think I can think of any Canadian who went and became so much better in college than she did. And so I'm really excited for her. This is her second FISU, and she's like a contender.
That's great.
Unfortunately, it looks like I'm not going to be able to get to Naples, Italy, as much as I know all three of those girls, and I would be the loudest cheerleader in the crowd. I'll be headed back to Bermuda to coach. So I think I coach quite a bit in Bermuda, and how can you say no?
It's true, Coach. So although Naples, Italy, Bermuda, I could do both of those.
Yeah, either or.
It's a toss up there. So that's what's coming up immediately for me.
But Coach, it's been great talking to you. You got to continue to stay in touch. I know you're traveling all over the world, but don't forget about the Routine podcast.
Oh, I listen every week.
Oh, perfect.
All right, and we've got to talk more frequently next season.
Yes.
Okay, I'll meet you in person, I promise.
That sounds perfect. Safe travels, Coach.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So thank you, Coach McCharles. It's fun always listening to you. And, Chelsea and I got tickled when you start listing the Canadian gymnasts. We could just go on and on and on.
We could have kept going all day.
Right, exactly. So, but again, I think it was a topic that we needed to hear and something that we just didn't stop to think about.
Totally. And if you all have a favorite Canadian collegiate gymnast, be sure to tweet us. Maybe, share a video of their favorite routine too. That could be really interesting because Canadian gymnasts deserve some love too, right?
Well, yeah, we're giving them love after this interview, and I'm actually going to be looking out for them next year because I think he helped us see it in a way that I just hadn't thought of before. So that's what you love about Coach McCharles, though. He's just true, right? True to his beliefs and has no problem sharing it with us.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us, Coach. If you all want to check out his website, it's gymnasticscoaching.com, or you can follow him on Twitter at gymcoaching.
So again, thank you, Coach. It's always great talking to you. Chelsea, before we say goodbye to everybody, just want to do a shout out to College Gym News. They had an article entitled, "In Courtney Coupett's Carter's Second Season, Georgia Continues to Rise." And so it really talks about Suzanne leaving and Courtney continuing on. So highly encourage people to take a look at that.
And for those of you who don't know, College Gym News is your one-stop shop for all things college gymnastics. For event coverage, leotard rankings, in-depth features, fantasy gymnastics resources, and more, visit collegegymnews.com.
And if you're interested in supporting College Gym News and their expanding coverage, visit collegegymnews.com/donate.
College Gym News.
All the college gymnastics news you want, all in one place. And the summer series continues, Chelsea.
Our next episode.
Got to get ready for it, don't you?
I know, right? It's not like, I feel like we've had deeper episodes.
It's pretty deep.
I mean, like, it's just honest.
It is.
Which is our motto here.
We talked to Dr. Dave Tilley. He is just really good at shedding light on the industry as it is, not as we want it to be. Mm-hmm. So just be ready for that one, guys.
Yeah. If you guys want to prepare, pre-game for the next episode, we spoke with him last summer series as well. He just really shared with us his opinions on coaching,
parenting,
being an athlete, being a responsible athlete.
Right. And injuries. So it's a really good episode.
But in the meantime, if you like today's episode, be sure to give us 5 stars on the Apple Podcast app. Leave us a review if you like what you're hearing. And make sure you subscribe so that you never miss an episode. If you all want to tweet us about today's episode with Coach McCharles, you can tweet us at Routine Podcast, or you can email us your thoughts at info@theroutinepodcast.com, or you can leave us a voicemail on our website, theroutinepodcast.com.
And you do that by going to our website, going to the top navigation where it says be a part of the conversation. You click that. Scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a microphone. You click the microphone and you leave us a voicemail message. And I have to say, guys, we have not gotten one voicemail for our whole summer series.
I know, right? And I know you guys are listening.
Sam is a dancer.
Oh, you can't be name calling people.
I know, but we met Sam as a dancer.
I know, it is a lot different when you meet people face to face.
Uh-huh.
It's like, hey, I know you. We're friends.
That's right. That's right. So we'd love to hear
anyone.
In any of the things that we've talked about in today's episode, there's lots of things that you could comment on.
Who's your favorite Canadian gymnast?
That's a perfect one to comment on, isn't it?
Mine is Kate Richardson. Oh, I changed mine.
Too late.
No, I'm going to just change it real quick.
Okay.
Mine is Elise Hoffner-Hibbs. Not only for UCLA, but also as an elite gymnast. But also Kate Richardson. Let's be real.
How many do you get, Chels?
And then I was thinking like an Australian gymnast, so that doesn't really count. So
that would be true. Like that's another continent.
But there are so many great Canadian gymnasts.
Yeah. It was just fun. And, we'd love to hear your comments and who your favorites are. Mm-hmm. It's been fun, Chelsea.
How's it, Mom?
Yeah, recording at my house next time. You know how they pay like party at my house next time? Recording at my house next time.
Only if I can pet your dogs.
You can, both of them. 2 golden retrievers, guys.
Lots of hair. That's minor, but just
is that why
as an FYI, if you guys were thinking.
And that's why you don't come over?
Yeah. Too much hair. I need like a lint roller just to walk through the door. But we'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.